Hello all of you beautiful people, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be ranking every single Fortnite live event, because we didn't get one at the end of Chapter 4 Season 1 or Chapter 4 Season 2, and you know, so we've had none in Chapter 4, so we've just got all of Chapter 1, 2 and 3. I think it's a good spot to do it in, hoping we get a good event. But as well as that, I actually did this about nearly 3 years ago in Chapter 2 Season 3, and at that point the device was the most recent live event. And I think since then events have changed a lot. I think there are different, like, I guess kind of eras to events, which I'll get into as I rank it. I would say what each one is and stuff. But as you can see, we have GOAT. This is reserved just for literally the best Fortnite event of all time. Then we have Great, Good, Mid, Bad and Worst event, and again this is reserved for just the absolute worst, which I assume you will know which one that is. But yeah, starting off with Chapter 1 Season 4. This is like the early days of events, I guess is what I'm going to call this. These are the early days. This is before events had any sort of, I guess, actual playlists. So it was all in just public games. You could kill each other and everything. Now, when looking at these events, I'm going to look at pre-event, the event itself, and then post-event. Just really briefly, we'll get all of the information. So yeah, pre-event for the this was, I think, officially called Blast Off, and the only real event builder we had was all the TVs showed warnings on them, and then in the villains base, which is on the map where the rocket was, there was a countdown. And honestly, then obviously the event was the rocket blasting off. And the post-event was the big rift left in the sky, and then obviously little bits of the map all disappearing, like the tomato head, the Durburger, the nom sign. Overall, it's the first event. Somebody did break a kill record in this event, because obviously a whole lobby built like a giant ramp, and somebody was just sat at the bottom while the event was happening, breaking the bottom of it, and I think they got like 40 to 60 kills in a solo game, which obviously was the world record. That's pretty funny. I actually didn't experience this event for myself though. However, we go to the next event in Chapter 1 Season 6. This was my first event, however the build up for this was all the way back in Chapter 1 Season 5, actually leading straight off this event. The rift started to shrink, turned purple, struck lightning down, creating a cube. Obviously Kevin the Cube rolled around the island, making these weird anti-gravity areas, and then rolled into Loot Lake. The lake turned purple and bouncy until Season 6, when it lifted up the big house on the island, which is actually now the Loot Island during Chapter 4. But yeah, with that island was floating around. We're back to those anti-gravity zones, which are now corrupt areas, lifted them out of the ground, charged up. There was a lot of build-up for this event, is all I am trying to say. That build-up was worth it, in my opinion, because this event was great. Obviously, at the start, we can see on the little icon there that the cube started spinning around and cracking, breaking until it exploded, and suddenly we were transported away from the map. We were in some weird, like, void. I think it's called the in-between, I think is what people have called it. And then suddenly, when we returned to the map, Fortnite is over. And Loot Lake is different, and it actually turned into the best version of Loot Lake we had, in my opinion. It was a very good event. I loved this event, and obviously it was my first one, so I'm a little bit biased towards it. And also have the Rift Butterfly tattooed on my arm. But I love that event. Such a good event. I really liked it. W. Next up we have the Ice Storm event. This was in Chapter 1 Season 7, still no event playlist. The build up for this was the Ice King appeared above Polar Peak in a little frozen orb. The little things like appeared around him like a clock almost. TVs had warnings on them with countdowns. When the countdown hit 0, he broke out of the orb, made this giant projection of himself, threw ice all over the island. The aftermath of the event was the return of the Fortnite zombies. I personally didn't mind that. I was still a relatively noobish player at the time, and I really liked the zombies, but the overall reception of these zombies was that people didn't like them, so that was an interesting thing to bring back. But also the whole map was snow, which I also really like, and like the fog. I wish I did that more, because they did it during Fortnite and then this, and I think that was it. And just having the really foggy map, and it's just like a whole different game, and they did bring it back as like LTMs and stuff, but I just think it'd be cool to like do something like that again. Now honestly, this event was mid. It was very short. It was easily the shortest event by far at this point. Even like the creation of Kevin the Cube, which isn't actually on here, because it was like one massive ongoing mini event with him rolling around and stuff. I think I counted it last time, but decided not to this time because it happened again in Chapter 2, Season 8, and it was a lot smaller there. It's just the whole thing. I just decided to not count it because it wasn't a big main event. But I think even then, like, just the creation of that cube just from that lightning strike was almost as long as this. It was a good event, but compared to everything else, it was short. It brought back the zombies, which most people weren't a fan of, though I personally really liked, so I'm taking it from my opinion of liking them, otherwise I feel like it would have been down in bad. Next up we have, also in Chapter 1 Season 7, the Marshmello event. Now this is getting into the next, I guess, phase of events, I'm going to call it. This is now where events have their own playlist. This is the first one where you had to like queue into a special mode, so you couldn't die during the event, which, massive W change. It's cool seeing things actually in game, but at the same time, just not dying so you don't miss it is also very good. So we're in the next phase of events. I don't really know what to call them, but this is like the next phase. This is like the playlist phase, I guess. So we're no longer in the early days of events. And yeah, this is the first concert in Fortnite. The build-up was just, you could see the stage all being built at Pleasant Park. And then obviously the concert happened. There wasn't really an aftermath because it was just a concert. But the actual concert itself, for the time, was amazing. Obviously not as good as what came after it, and my main thing here was always that it was my favourite music out of all the concerts we've had, which I'd say is still true, but I can't say I listened to Marshmello like I did back in 2018. It's just not, I just feel like it's not as much my thing anymore. But again, still my favourite music out of all of them, and it was such a cool thing to happen at the times, like never happened before. I would put this in good because I did really like this event. Now we're into Chapter 1 Season 8. We have the Unvaulting event. This was an interesting one. We had two events in one here. So the build-up was that these weird like things appeared around the map, like dig sites. The whole community had to work together to break these stones. You could see the health going down on them as like everybody in the world could like go and be breaking these rocks, and it would be real-time breaking. That was really cool. I've not had anything like that since, I don't think. Once these things broke, I think it revealed a geyser, a lava pit in the middle of Dusty Depot, like a skeleton. But then they went to Loot Lake and dug up, in my opinion, the best Loot Lake. That was a bit fidel. But dug up the vault, and once the vault was uncovered, these weird key things were floating around. I don't really know what to call them. Pickaxed them to make them move, and then obviously once they dropped into the lake, they all powered up, and then we got the timer for the event. And also while this was happening, the volcano was getting smokier and smokier. You could tell it was going to erupt. We were getting a 2-in-1 event here, baby. But once the timer ticked down to 0, for 40% of players, nothing happened. And that included me. This was the most broken event in Fortnite history. The servers just couldn't handle it, I guess. Even if you made it in-game on time, for 40% of players, nothing happened, which was honestly really sad, because this was a great event. But I got a glider as compensation, which, to be fair, I do use on one of my presets, so you know what? Give them that. But the event itself, firstly, the vault opened up and everybody could jump inside, and there were 6 like pillars. So I guess like the whole community working pickaxing these things was almost a test for this event, because you could see like you had to pickaxe these things to vote it. So I think it was the bouncer, planes, infinity blade, drum gun, tactical SMG, and something else, but I don't honestly remember what it was. The community voted on the drum gun, and that was when everybody floated back up out of the vault. Just to go straight into the next half of the event, which was the volcano, which flung out giant like molten rocks, which destroyed Retail Row, Tilted Towers, and one of them hit Polar Peak, which was setting up for the next event. That was a big moment. Retail, and especially Tilted, were like a lot of people's favourites on the maps, which was... So it was like, yeah, it was a big deal. And obviously the aftermath of the event was Tilted and Retail were both literally rubble, apart from the No Sweat Insurance building in Tilted, because that was constantly being destroyed the entire chapter. And then it was the only one to not be destroyed, so that was pretty funny. And this whole sky was just like smoky and filled with ash, and it was quite dark. And obviously Polar Peak had a big crack in it. This was actually a pretty good event, and I really liked the aftermath of this one. obviously with like map changes happening in real time, and obviously the drum gun being unvaulted literally straight away, no downtime, no like anything here. This would go here, but I think because of the whole server thing, and I am still salty about that to this day, it goes down to good, because you can't knock how genuinely good this event was. Next up we have the Monster vs Mech event in Chapter 1 Season 9. So the build up for this event leads straight off the previous event. At Polar Peak, the crack begins to grow, and then an eye is revealed, which would like follow you around when you stand in front of it. That was actually really cool. But then one update, all of Polar Peak is destroyed, the entire castle's gone, and there are footsteps leading towards the ocean. I think a house in Pleasant and like the building at Loot Lake was both stepped on, so they had like footprints on them. And there was also a very rare chance that if you like looked out at the ocean on the map, you could see like the castle on the monster's back as it was swimming around the island. And once that happened, a giant mech robot was constructed inside Pressure Plant, which is where the volcano was. Once they were finished being built, obviously the mech was ready, the monster was ready, we had the countdown, obviously the event began, and it was a very good event. I had to watch this on my phone in a hotel room, so I'm probably using somebody else's footage. All the footage that has like names on screen, that's not mine. Anything without names, that's all my footage. And the fight itself was actually very cool, and you could see like it all happening. The only problem here is because this is right before like Fortnite World Cup. I think there was no real map changes happening during the event, because obviously they couldn't destroy a POI that people had been practicing out. That would have been a bit mean. But the event itself was great. Obviously had twists, you know, you thought the mech won, and then the monster comes out the water, and then the mech pulls that sword and like neo tilted and stuff. And obviously the aftermath of the event is the 0 point was exposed, like a big, like the main Fortnite story element being the 0 point is finally here. We can see it, though we did see it in the vault in the Unvaulting event. It was like in the middle powering everything, but it's now exposed, and that was also obviously setting up straight for the next season. So yeah, and obviously yeah, big skeleton with a sword in his head on the map as the aftermath. Overall, this is another great event. I think at the time it felt really wacky, and I think in my previous tier list said I wasn't as big a fan, but obviously we've had a lot more wackier events since then, so I kind of gets like put down a little bit, like it seems less wacky in comparison, I guess. But now we have Chapter 1 Season X, The End. I loved this event. I didn't even get to see it in my game. I got crashed out, I couldn't even see it, and it was my absolute favourite event. The build up for this was obviously Dusty Depot was back now, and the scientist was building a new rocket because the 0 point like was expanding and going more and more unstable after the Season 9 event, and it was going to blow everything up and then the island. There was like voice recordings telling us about all this, and it was all bad. And then obviously after the build-up, the rocket launched, and we witnessed the best event in Fortnite, in my opinion. It was like the Chapter 1 Season 4 event, but like so much better. And the music for it was so sick. I forgot to mention, in like Season 9, they started adding music to events with the Final Showdown event. I love this. This was so good. And then obviously the aftermath was the black hole, which hit different at the time. Obviously, if we have downtime after events and out, we have the time where we know what's going to happen. The time runs out, we go into the next season. It wasn't like that back here. Back here, we just had a black hole. There was no timers. Numbers had come out of it every once in a while, which would give us codes. And people were freaking out. People thought Fortnite was gone. I heard a story where there was like a kid's birthday party, and the event happened during it, and then all the kids cried because they thought Fortnite was deleted. I heard stories of angry parents getting like contacting Epic Games, thinking all the V-Bucks the kids spent had been like wiped out and they're all gone. It was a wild time. This was in the news. This was everywhere. I think it broke Twitch as well. It was wild, this event. This was in like actual public news and stuff. It was insane. This event was like unparalleled when it comes to like how big scale and like well known it was. I love this event so much. This was, in my opinion, the GOAT event. It was amazing. I can't even like describe how like good I think this was. This was then followed up by Chapter 2 Season 1, the Star Wars event. I personally wasn't the biggest fan of this event, nor were many people for that matter. So, the build up for this event was they were testing on the screen of Risky Reels. You could see, like, you just put a thing on the screen and, like, play sounds. And then a Risky Reel started being deconstructed and these, like, weird platforms started being built there instead. And then, obviously, the countdown appeared with a little TIE Fighter hologram there. And then out came the event, and obviously the platform rose up. We could see like all the ships flying around. It was the Millennium Falcon and TIE Fighters. The Millennium Falcon lands, and it's just J.J. Abrams talking about the new Star Wars film, and I don't really care about Star Wars. And that goes on for about 5 minutes, I think, 5-10 minutes. And then obviously we get to see a scene from the film. I guess that's cool if you're an actual Star Wars fan. I'm not. And then lightsabers are revolted, which was actually massive W. That saved this event for me. The aftermath was, yeah, lightsabers are now in game. The event itself, like, I'm gonna say right now, the lightsabers during like Winterfest was my probably favorite time ever playing Fortnite. I loved it so much. It was such a good time to play. But the event itself, the main complaint, which I do kind of agree with, was they disabled all playlists. So this was the only thing you could do in Fortnite for about an hour. I think it probably, yeah, they disabled all plays for an hour, but then like stuff like creative, I think would have been disabled even longer. For a big advert, it was just a big advert. And that was like the main problem at the time. And it was cool for Star Wars fans, but for Fortnite fans, it wasn't great. It would have gone here, but something else has taken that place. Like I said, you probably know what it is. So it's actually going right here. Next up is Chapter 2 Season 2 and our second concert in Fortnite. What was annual. Clearly not anymore. We need a new Fortnite concert. Please, Epic Games. I would love one. I don't care who it is. It could be like doo-doo music. I don't even like Travis Scott's music, but I'll get into how much I like this event after. So the build-up for this event was the stage being built on the water near Sweaty Sands. I think it's just above Sweaty Sands. And obviously a little purple dot in the sky, which was growing bigger until people realised it was Astro World. And then obviously the countdown hit 0, and we are put into the Travis Scott's Astronomical. And this event was visually sick. It was so cool. I love this event. There were so many throwbacks to old events with like Kevin the Cube and the Butterfly and all this stuff. This was a very good event. I really liked Travis Scott's Astronomical, and I don't even like Travis Scott music. I think it's kind of bad. The event itself, the visuals were sick. The skins became so iconic that people are constantly asking when they're going to come back. I don't think they will. I've got the Astro Track skin though. It was, I can't really describe it because it was just like a lot of Travis Scott, like, it's just the visual effect of it are really cool. You can see that on screen at the moment. Aftermath of the event, again, it's a concert, so there's no real aftermath. The only aftermath is that like the stage is there and then it happens again for like other time zones. This event, I think I saw like 4 out of 5 showings. I think there was. I saw like all of these. It was sick. This is great. This was like nearly the best of the best. It was so good. You know what, let's organise our events from left to right. So we'd go, I think like that for this one. This one I would go like that. There we go. So left is best, then right is like worst of that tier, so you can really get a proper look. And then the end of the season we had the device event. Same season, 2 events in one season. You don't get that very often, and this is another really good event. They, after the Travis Scott event, they did not disappoint. The build up for this was if you went into the Midas's room on like the Battle Pass menu, you could see the device be built and then like start powering up with more and more and more. And as well as the device powering up, these hatches also appeared all around the agency, which then started bubbling, then opened, and then obviously during the event they like did their whole thing. But yeah, speaking of during the event, obviously the whole agency just gets blown up right in front of us. Obviously live map changes, very cool. Yeah, I really liked this event. It's like the whole storm being pushed back. Sorry if you can hear my auntie's dog and my dog playing in the background. This event was really cool. Midas fighting off the storm, obviously trying to break the loop, and then we got first person. This is where real, like, I guess the Fortnite story started coming into it. This was like peak Fortnite story, I think. Obviously we had Agent Jones with the loop. I'd say it's Season X to around here would have been like peak Fortnite. Like, it's in like the actual modern day storyline I'm saying peak. Because I liked in Chapter 1 where it's just a bunch of seemingly random shit just going on, like, oh, a cube is here now, and then I liked that. I don't know why, I just really liked that. But anyway, back to this event. This is peak like modern Fortnite story with like IO and all that, which was, yeah, this is the first time we saw IO. This is the first time I heard about like the loop and all how the snapshots work and Agent Jones and all of that stuff. And again, this is a very good event, and we also got a fake out ending in it where like all your UI and stuff came back. And then, obviously, it disappeared again. We went back into that place. And then, the aftermath of this event has got to be probably my favourite, like, aftermath of any event. The storm was a flood, and that was so sick. It was visually really cool. It made the storm very dangerous, which, honestly, was pretty cool. If you were, like, far enough in the storm, you'd start gaining so much momentum. You just get spat out and then die to full damage. So you had to be very careful with the storm. It was just so cool. And it's for, like, only 2 days, and we've never had it since. And I would love to see that come back, even if it's just for an LTM, although we're not going to get any LTMs because you just need to have solid gold with like 42 players. But again, this event is that's I'd say here. I'd say there. Now we're getting into the Chapter 2 style, I guess, of event. I don't really know what to call this. I was going to say modern era of events. Yeah, we'll go with that. We'll go with modern era of events. I think the Collision's kind of its own one, which I'll get to later. With the Galactus event. Now, this is an interesting one. Obviously, the build-up started straight away. Little red dot in the sky with Galactus. He was getting closer and closer and closer each season. Obviously, Iron Man was preparing all the battle buses. And towards the end of the season, you could see like we had the normal battle bus, and then it was slightly upgraded, and it got more and more upgraded until we had like the full Iron Man battle bus. Now, this event is a weird one, because I really like this event. Like, I really like this event, but at the same time, I think it was the start of the, like, downfall of Fortnite events. Or maybe the one after this, but it's like that whole same style. I don't know how to describe it, but I'll get into it. But the Galactus event, as I just mentioned with the build-up, and then obviously we had to fight Galactus. He a little bit underwhelming, but for a Fortnite event, I don't really know what else he'd have been able to do for it, so I didn't really mind it. Obviously, just Galactus, like, we shoot the drones, and then obviously he eats all the battle buses and gets sent back to his reality through a giant rift. And obviously that does, causes disturbance in the IO. However, we have a big thing here, is that, like Season X, we went straight into downtime after the event. And although we did have, to be fair, during the event, sorry, going back to that, we had a little, like, black hole reference, like the whole sound and, like, the whole sucking in. I really like that. We do love Fortnite Season X event moments. But yeah, and then we go straight into downtime, and it just doesn't hit like the black hole. Obviously, we have the timer and all of that, and I mean, it was kind of cool at the time when they like did it again for the second time, and obviously we could see when the downtime was going to end. But there's no like aftermath for the events anymore. There's no like destroyed POIs that you can see. There's no like water storm. There's none of that. It's just we're in downtime, and then the aftermath. It'll just be the next season, which I think is not that great, in my personal opinion. But yeah, Galactus, I'd go great, even despite all that. This broke Twitch. Like, Twitch fully went down after this event, I'm pretty sure. I remember I just couldn't download the VOD to make the video, so that was pretty funny. Next up we have the solo experience event, with these weird like eras of event, I guess I'm talking about here. I wouldn't say the concerts really fit into that, and I'd say this wouldn't fit into that either. Just because it's not really a live event. It was a solo thing that happened at the start of Season 6 of Chapter 2. It was a weird one. I thought they were going to do another one at the start of Chapter 4 Season 3, because I saw leaks for it, but then that was like a while ago, and then obviously when the season happened, it didn't happen, so that was sad. I'd take anything at this point. I'm event deprived, you know. So obviously, because of how it was laid out, there was no real event build-up. I mean, I guess you could say the end of Chapter 2, Season 5, with like the 0 point destabilizing. Again, similar to like how it was in Season X, and all the rift portals like freaking out, and it was sending out the like little reality waves. Then obviously in this event, the reality wave was like a really big deal. And obviously during the event, we got the reveal of a new 7 member, which at the time was a big deal because we hadn't had one since Season X. And we got the Foundation, which people rumoured to be The Rock because like the armour kind of matched his tattoos and like the voice sounded a bit like it. Rumours turned out to be true. A bit more literally than we expected, but I'll get back to that. So obviously the whole thing is he like tries to contain the 0 point blast. Is unable to do it without sacrificing himself and Jones, so Jones overloads the device, traps himself in the loop, and obviously the Foundation is stuck inside the 0 point, which is now inside the Spire. It was an okay event. I'm not a fan of it's just the solo thing. There's just something about the build-up to these events and doing it with your friends, and this event didn't have build-up because the build-up was just the season build-up, which is also like good hype, but this is the hype. It was good hype, but like it was the season hype. It felt like the whole season was kind of taken away from it. This felt a bit more like a playable trailer. But yeah, obviously with everyone trapped in the loop, and then the aftermath of the event was the season. But that would have happened anyway, so no massive like craziness with it. I'll go good for this event. I would say like here, so it's not bad. I'd say it's pretty average, which I think okay here. I don't know, the Marshmello event's too nostalgic for me, and it was just a vibe. But now we're in Chapter 2, Season 7 with the Ariana Grande concert, which was the I believe the Rift Tour. This one was with our last of these supposedly annual events that it was meant to be. I believe this is in 2021, so it's been 2 years now. Please do a concert this year, Epic. So the build-up for this was one of the abductor UFOs appeared in the middle of the map, and it was always there every game, but it didn't work as like the other ones. It was just more of a platform. Posters appeared around the map, I believe, and then when the event actually happened, we had like the lobby like waiting on that UFO. When the concert happened, it was Ariana Grande's music. It was not just Ariana Grande, there's quite a lot of like different music in it. I forgot in the Galactus event it had the like AC/DC in it, which is pretty cool as well. I actually really liked that. But yeah, the event itself had like Storm King, and obviously right at the start it had us like looking at all the like images of previous events. However, there was one of Kevin the Cube, which was actually showing next season, the next season at the time, because it showed Kevin the Cube on the Chapter 2 island, but you would have had to have a keen eye to notice that. And obviously the event was a pretty good event, you know. It was another concert. I really liked it, and I think the weird thing about this event is they tried tying it into the like storyline. They said it was like the aliens, the last reality, like scanning your memories using Ariana Grande. I don't know, I thought that was weird. I just kind of like ignore that bit because I don't know where that would have even been useful. Like, they haven't used our memories or anything, I don't think. And obviously the aftermath, there isn't really any, because it was like the Travis Scott event where it happened multiple times. So yeah, the event itself I would say is also great, but not as great as Travis Scott event. All of these ones here. Yeah, next up we have Operation Skyfire. Same season, just later on. Obviously, the build-up for this event was the mothership was abducting a bunch of POIs, and you could go and see them inside the like mini game that was there at the time. I can't remember the name of it. Like, yeah, you go in and you like collect the orbs and get the better loot. When it went to abduct, I think it's Frenzy Fields. I can't remember the actual, because it was Frenzy Field, but then it was like a different name at that point, but I can't remember. Corny Complex, that's it. Sloan had a plan to put bombs on the bottom of it and blow up the mothership, so they fell for the trap. They abducted the ship along with us. We have the bomb detonators on our back, so running around like inside them. It was really cool to be inside the mothership after seeing it looming over the map for like an entire season. That was actually really, really cool if you ask me. But yeah, we'll go around and then we obviously go to detonate the bombs. It fails, they block off the door, and we see the return of the boy, Kevin the Cube. We do love Kevin the Cube. He comes back, Dr. Sloan's like panicking, and then disables the cube. We reboot it and make it blue. This is a weird thing. I feel like this was almost a little bit like of a scrapped idea, but we like rebooted it and made it blue. It was on our side, but then obviously when the bombs get like detonated, once the sequence completes, we realise Dr. Sloan doesn't really care about us, and she leaves us to die basically in the mothership. She wants us all to get blown up. We go up and realise there are like hundreds of thousands, probably millions of cubes. You can even see the gold cube right at the end, like very subtly glowing. And obviously the mothership blows up, and you just look down and you see the island and all the cubes raining down and the debris of the mothership. It was insane to look at. And obviously we go straight into downtime as the aftermath. But speaking of the aftermath of this event, you could see many POIs as being straight up obliterated by cubes, mothership pieces, abductors. So much of the map should have been changed. But we load up next season, a day later, they're all fine. The next season had the deadest map changes, I think, of any map. There was no POI. There was literally no new POIs until halfway through the season. The only thing that changed to day one of the season, there was some orange patches of grass with cubes in them. And that was about it. Also, I just want to say the cubes weren't even as cool as the Chapter 1 cube, because you couldn't, like, zap people with the lightning after shooting it. But again, this was another very, very good event. I really, really liked it. I'd go here, I think. I honestly loved this event. We were on a pretty good event streak here, you know. We had Ariana Grande, and then Skyfire, and then now we have Chapter 2, The End, which was also a very good event. So, starting off with the build-up, obviously the island throughout the whole season was getting more and more corrupt. The Cube Queen was gaining more power. She made the pyramid in the middle. Basically, the entire map was like orange and mouldy looking. It's a bit yucky. Once she got enough power, she obviously like went all sicko mode on us and started taking over the island. We had the blue cube which had a force field around us, which by the way was at that secret base that was built, because that was another bit of build-up. They built like a little base. But they made that base, and there's no, like, the blue cube didn't roll there or anything. It was just kind of teleported there. The blue cube, I feel like, was meant to be more important, and they kind of like changed their mind a bit on it, but it was already a bit too late because it was in game. I don't know. It just felt weird because it was during the event at the start. It was there, and it was like a force field, but then it just got blown up, and that was it. And I was like, oh, is that it? The blue cube, like, Blevin didn't do much. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, we go underground. We see Sloan trying to get, like, I guess, torture Jones, kill him. I don't know. Get info out of him, and then our boy The Rock comes and saves him. And obviously we knew at this point he was voiced by The Rock. We didn't expect him to take off his helmet and realise that he was like literally The Rock. Like, I find that so weird because, like, you could have given him any face. This isn't like live action. You didn't have to give him The Rock's face, but they did. So fair enough. The Rock is now the Foundation. Cool. Very unexpected, honestly. That was pretty funny. And then obviously as the map is flipping over, we see that really, really cool shot right at the end. I love how Fortnite were doing that, like, cool cinematic shots. Obviously this one had the island flip, and the previous event had like the view of the mothership all blowing up. We just had like a cool cinematic shot in these events. I don't know why, I just really like that. Obviously the island flipped over, and we saw in the distance Chapter 3's island. Then a wave comes along, and obviously we're in downtime. This was a bit more similar to the black hole, but obviously we still come to expect these downtimes. So though there's no like countdown, it's just like your player just on a bit of driftwood, just floating in the ocean. No countdown or anything. It was apparently meant to last 2 to 3 days of just that, similar to the black hole. However, Chapter 3's trailers and battle pass and just the whole map, it all just got leaked. So Epic Games just ended the downtime early, like, but it was basically like the same as any other like event downtime, and just released Chapter 3 early because it all got leaked, which honestly is a bit of a shame. That makes me quite sad to think about, because I don't know, people put a lot of effort into like revealing these things. It just gets leaked. It happened to Dead by Daylight recently as well, with the like whole Nicolas Cage and all of that stuff all being leaked. It just makes me sad because they put all that effort in and want to have a cool big reveal, and then everyone just knows about it, so the hype just isn't there. I don't know, it just makes it a bit sad for me. The End, it was very similar to Skyfire to me. I think I put it after, but you could almost make these interchangeable, I think, because both very good events in my opinion. Next up we have The Collision. Now this is where it gets interesting. So the build up for this event on the actual map was the the collider being built and obviously powering up, sending out these big beams of energy. And on the lobby background, like before you're ready up to the games, you could see the mech from Season 9 being rebuilt, because obviously it was left on the ice moon and that's where it was. You could see it being rebuilt. And obviously once it was rebuilt, we got the event timers as normal and we went into the event. And this... I don't know, this event was weird for me. It was good in the fact that in Skyfire and The End we were really taken, and even Galactus, we were taken away from the map for the events. So you couldn't really see the damage being done like during the event, because obviously you see the map and then we're taken away from it and you can't see it, and then when we're back it's all done. This event actually happened on the map, all the fighting was on the map. I really like that. I want to have events happen in real time on the Fortnite island as we're doing it. The main problem here, which also spreads into the next event, was this whole like interactive event stuff. Because it's interactive, yeah, you can like shoot the tanks and I don't know, spam the buttons to do the things, but you don't have to do that. It's just so like, it just feels a bit full. Maybe it's because I'm like 20 and this stuff obviously not going to work, or maybe if you have like kids, because this game is technically aimed at kids. It will be more effective on them, I guess. I don't know, the whole false participation is just weird to me. It's like, you don't need that. I don't want the interactive part. I like sitting back and watching stuff happen. I don't want to be part of it. Which is kind of my only problems with like Skyfire and The End and Galactus, although I think they did it well enough to where it wasn't too bad. They just took me out the map, which was cool a few times, but I want to go back to the map, if you know what I mean. I don't know if I'm explaining this well. But this event kind of started taking it a bit further, and it wasn't like the worst. It was like a bit like, alright, we have to shoot to save it, because it just wouldn't really make any difference in the end, which is the thing. And I think I remember seeing Lachlan and Laserbeam's like reaction to the event, and they were like sort of taking the piss with it, and it was just like, I don't know, it just felt a bit like, it just didn't feel like a Fortnite like event. We don't need that, you know. Yeah, enough rambling about the interactiveness, because trust me, we will get to that in a moment. Okay, Rush, my auntie's dog just yawning really loud. But I think I just put this one at the bottom of good. It wasn't a bad event, and I remember kind of enjoying it at the time. It's just, yeah, the whole stuff I've been talking about. Also, P-lead with the save there was pretty epic. Oh, I wonder where this one's gonna go, because like, what spot is left? The collision in Fortnite Chapter 3 Season 4. The build-up was the Chrome was taking over. It's very similar to the end of Chapter 2, but instead of like yucky, moldy, like cubey grass, it was Chrome took over, and obviously was going to destroy the island. The 7 were all missing, and the Herald was taking over the reality tree. Now, this, I mean, if you talk about the event eras, it kind of sits in its own thing, because it was very different. Basically, it started off with a big old cutscene, and oh yeah, with the aftermath of the collision, it was just downtime again, generic stuff. But yeah, this was, obviously we got put into a cutscene where we see the Herald like swipe the reality tree and then blow up the island, whatever. And then we're in space, and this bit's honestly cool. You can see the 0 point pulling bits in. You can see Amy in the Paradigm speaking. The Paradigm is now Brie Larson, because why not? And then we're like on the the 0 points area, making your island, and we play fetch for like half an hour. I'm not going to use collect things for half an hour. It was so dead, and Brock also crashed out of it, and honestly didn't even miss much. I'm not gonna lie, it was dead event. And then the end, it was another cutscene, like sick, cool. It was such a good idea for the event, like rebuilding the island as we like watch it. But the event itself was just so bad. We just played fetch for all the cool stuff was cutscenes, and that's another problem I have with events at the moment. It's cutscenes. It happened in the end event, and it happened in the collision, and it happened in I can't even remember what this was. Fracture. It's just cutscenes. Obviously, the aftermath of the event was the downside, which, to be fair, the music in this event was good. I actually like the music in this event. That doesn't stop it from being the worst event in Fortnite history, in my opinion. So, as a final verdict, what I want for events in Fortnite going forward, I want to go back to the island. I want to see the events happening on the island. That's what the story is. The story should be the island. I don't get what's going on with this Fortnite story at the moment. It just seems to be a different story every season. So, I was always like the guy that would like follow the story. I don't even care anymore. For events, I want it to take place a bit more on the island. I don't want any of this stupid like interactive stuff. I just want to sit and watch the event. And I don't want cutscenes. We don't need cutscenes. Cutscene isn't an event, alright? And I guess that's the final verdict of that. Yeah, thank you for watching. If you liked it, cheers. Here is the final tier list. Yeah, let me know if you agree or disagree, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.